Hey, welcome to Mineral Talks Live, the weekly live webinar that brings you in-depth and in-person interviews with the mineral people from around the world. Mineral Talks Live is brought to you by a joint effort among the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, and Blue Cap Productions. Tune in every Wednesday and stay connected to your mineral world. Now, broadcasting live from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, the land of aloha, ukuleles, and shakas, this is Mineral Talks Live. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the summer. You're watching Mineral Talks Live, and today is Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021, also known as Marty's birthday. I'm Brian Swoboda, president of Blue Cap Productions, and together with my summerlicious partners, Dr. Raquel Alonso Perez from the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, and Dr. Eloise Gaillou from the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, also known as the SMMP. See how well I can say that? We want to welcome you to the show. Our goal in producing this program has always been to focus on bringing together all the different facets of our mineral world, from curatrix and curators to collectors, dealers, miners, researchers, artists, and the media that serves us all. We hope that in doing so, we get a chance to show our audience the diversity of our little mineral world. We invite you to participate throughout this live show, either through the chat feature or the Q&A feature, both of which are located at the bottom of your Zoom window. The chat feature allows you to type messages to everyone watching the live show. As we're all about community, when you first sign on, go ahead and fire off a hello to everyone telling us where you're from. Also, if you have thoughts or comments during the show, this is where you can post them and where you can interact with each other. Now, during the interview, my guests and I may not see all of your chat messages, but both Raquel and Eloise will be very active in those chats, so look for their comments and links. When appropriate, either Raquel or Eloise may address us directly with some of your questions that you're posting there. Now, the second way to interact is with the Q&A function. This allows you to submit general questions that we'll try to answer at the very end of the interview. Finally, at about 40 minutes into the program, you'll see a window pop up on your screen asking a bunch of questions for our Quickfire 5 segment. This is where we get to see how well you know our guests. It's fun, it's weird, and it's wacky. It's wonderful too. Now, we've got quite a treat for you today because this show has a very special meaning to Raquel, Eloise, and me. It was almost exactly 1 year ago today when we first started Mineral Talks Live. On June 3rd, 2020, we started down a path that has taken us all over the world, allowed us to at least virtually get together with friends both old and new, and of course, given us some incredible views into minerals, museums, and much, much more. And you, our loyal viewers, you've been with us for 50 shows now, and we've loved every single minute. So we're calling today our Golden Show, since gold is the 50th anniversary gift. And what better guest to have on our show today than a couple who are also celebrating their 50th anniversary. But for them, it's not 50 shows, it's 50 years. 50 years of business in the mineral world. And not only that, but they are so well known for their incredible gold specimens. 50 episodes, 50 years, gold, 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 gold. So live from the golden state of California, ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, please welcome Cristalle's very own Dona and Wayne Leicht to our show. Hi, Donna. Hi, Wayne. Welcome to Mineral Talks Live. Great to see you. How you guys doing out there?
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. Can't ask for anything more. Now, you guys know, since you always watch us on YouTube, I love to turn the hands of time and get to the origin stories. I want to know how you guys got started in minerals. Wayne, I'm pretty sure it starts with you, so let's go back to the beginning and tell us about the first time you encountered a mineral and why it spoke to you.
Well, when I was in grade school, there was a lady from the Riverside area that came and gave a talk at the grade school, and she talked about minerals. And I thought, and at the time I was more interested in the relics, which are in the surrounding area, and I was collecting those. But then I thought, oh, minerals are pretty interesting. So she showed us some minerals, but she also indicated that up in the hills around Rubidoux and near the Crestmore Quarry, there were minerals that could be found. And so that really turned me on to minerals. And after that, I went on to collect minerals all through my grade school and high school years. And then when I went in the military, I changed directions completely and started into micromounts, which
Okay.
was my earliest serious mineralogy collecting was with micromounts. So that's what started me in minerals.
Fantastic. And do you still have like an early mineral that you first collected when you were in school?
Yes, I've collected some really nice garnets and some epidote crystals around the Rubidoux area there near Riverside. And I still have those small specimens in my collection somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where they are.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere I have them. But that's what started me in minerals.
I love it. I love it. Now, Donna, somewhere along the line, a handsome, clean-shaven young man came into your life. So let me ask you this. How did Wayne first ask you out, and where did he take you?
He was with Army intelligence, stationed out of the customs house in downtown Baltimore. I worked for the B&O Railroad right up the street. But my girlfriends used to go down to some of the dances at the base down in Dundalk. And so I went one night, and Wayne was putting the moves on my girlfriend, and she turned him down. So I guess yes, that was. Well, let me try this one. And so actually, that's how we met, and it came about. And one of our first dates, if not the first one. Hallelujah! We're going to the Coronado Quarry in Pennsylvania in the rain. Well, he's out there banging on rocks to his heart's content, having the time of his life. I went home and I said to my mother, "This guy is so weird." But here we are. We will be celebrating 57 years of marriage this year.
Oh, wow. Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations. So, Donna, you were working at the B&O Railroad.
Yes.
And Wayne passed go, but he didn't collect $200. He did collect you, though.
No.
Good way to put it. What happened is while we were with the Baltimore Micromount Society, that's where we met Paul Desautel's.
Wow, yeah.
Of course, that led to many trips to the Smithsonian with Paul walking us around and talking about minerals. And Neil Yedlin, Lou Perloff, all of these guys.
Icons of micromounting.
Paul Seal. We learned so much from them. And I learned along the way that it was better to keep my mouth shut and listen to them. And that's really how, and then once you handle things daily, it comes to you. And I did take some courses in the junior college in mineralogy and geology. Tried to keep up with Wayne.
Which wasn't difficult.
Okay, so at some point you are doing the micro mounting, and it is a passionate hobby that's growing in both of you. And then there was a time where all of a sudden you decide, let's start a mineral business. Let's start this company, Cristalli. First of all, tell us the origin of the names, but second of all, tell us some of the pros and cons that you were weighing when you decided to start Cristalli.
Well, let's go back a little bit further. When we were interested in micromounts, so when we came out west, when I got out of the military, we got very active in the micromount group out here. And we hosted co-hosted the Micromount Symposium first in Santa Barbara, and then we were able to move it down to Santa Monica. So at that point, 1968, 69, we were still very active in micromounts. We hadn't discovered larger specimens, but gradually we had an opportunity to buy a few larger specimens, and we just kind of started into the mineral business on a larger scale. But early on, we were issuing micromount lists, offering micromounts for sale. And that was the early part of our business, was still later in larger specimens.
So then what?
The first collections we bought, John Watson, hello, you're on here, was one from John Watson. Another one was Joe Sefke,
Sefke,
who worked out at the U.S. Borax. And we bought his collection.
Ernest Chapman's
Chapman.
collection.
These were all, Southern California people. And that's sort of how it began. And our very first mineral show was in Bisbee.
In Bisbee. And that was your first mineral show as Kristalle, or still as kind of like a hobby thing?
Uh-huh.
Yes. But there was a building being constructed in downtown Laguna, which is where we lived in an apartment at that time. And we contracted to get a small space. And so Wayne still working.
I think this is a photo of the building that you're talking about, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That was the Forest Avenue Mall. And Wayne was still working at Aeronutronic Ford in low temperature physics research. And I would work in the shop, and then he would come on weekends. And gradually it got to the point where the shop was making equal his salary. Then it's a little bit. And we said, we're having fun at this. So he cut the corporate cord. No more free card, no more free anything. No more nothing.
I cut the umbilical cord.
And we were downtown in the Forest Avenue Mall for 23 years before we bought the building we currently occupy.
All right, well, let me go back to the Forest Hill Mall picture, and this is the interior of that shop, correct?
It was a tiny shop.
That was in the back of the mall.
Yeah.
Did my father know you at this time?
I think he did, and George Bedeau used to sit in a chair right in the corner there many, many times.
For some reason, when you sent me this photograph, somehow, and maybe I'm imagining it, but it seems like I recognize this image. I don't know if I'm just fantasizing or if maybe.
No, I'm sure he was there along with Pete Bank. He probably came with Pete Bancroft one day. I'm pretty sure. I remember your dad and your mom and Peter and his wife came.
Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now here's another shot of the interior of the your first office. So yeah, it's a little bit small, but then this is the place that you purchased after that, and where your main office is currently located.
That's right.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's right on Pacific Coast Highway, but not in the downtown area. We're far removed from the downtown, so there's no walk-in traffic here. We're more of a destination spot, really, than casual walk-ins.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So they drive there. I mean, a lot of people drive by it, and you have.
Lots of.
I'll have to say you have wonderful window displays, and I'm going to cut forward to this one from most recently.
We won the city contest, first prize for that window display for Christmas.
Yeah. A lot of advertisement out of it too, which was good.
If you can't read it, some of the toilet paper rolls say "Happy Holidays."
With a
Classic. Okay, so tell us about. I'm sorry. Say that again, Wayne.
Donna's weird sense of humor.
Yeah, of course. All right, so tell us about how you made that transition into gold. How did that start? Because you're so well known for being really a top-line gold specimen dealer. But somewhere along the line, you went from micro mounts to gold. What happened there?
I was always interested in gold. Matter of fact, every summer when I was a kid, 13, 14 years old, my parents would pack us up and send us up to my grandfather's gold mine in Tuolumne County. And it wasn't really a gold mine. It was just he had staked a claim there and built a log cabin on it. But every summer we would go up and pan for gold, and we'd find a little bit of gold. But I had started to get the gold fever at that time. And then later, the pivotal thing about as we started in the business is Dick Thompson one time when he was doing some work in Carson Hill, which was a gold property in Calaveras County, indicated that there was a man in town that had a gold collection. Actually, he was the brother of the guy who built the gold collection. And I should go check out this gold collection because apparently it was very famous. Gave me the name of the man and I checked it out, and his name was Frank Crespi. And later we found out that it was the Charlie Crespi collection, which used to be on display in various Bank of Americas. And Frank wanted to sell the family gold collection because Charlie had long since passed away. So I have to thank Dick Thompson for turning us on to gold. And that was the very first large collection that we bought in gold specimens, crystallized gold specimens.
Fantastic. Tell me about this image here. I know that you guys had just returned from Hawaii, and that's why Donna is sporting the raccoon eyes there.
Hollies have been to Hawaii. Look at that. Oh, Lord.
Well, this is the Mojave nugget, which I didn't start calling it that, but the man who found it called it the Mojave nugget, so I left the moniker with it. But anyway, this gentleman came into our shop when we were in the Forest Avenue Mall and offered me a gold nugget that weighed about a pound. And he wouldn't tell me where he found it, but he did tell me it was in the desert and he found it with a metal detector. So I bought it and put it in our inventory. And then about 3 or 4 months later, he came in and he had another larger one, which weighed about 3 pounds. And he just kept bringing in these bits of gold, and I kept buying them all for cash. He only would dealt in cash.
I love it.
About 6 months later, he came in and he said he found it. He found the big one. And so they found this nugget, which weighs 13 pounds, 156 ounces. He wouldn't tell me exactly where it was found, but he would say, if you draw a 50-mile circle around the town of Mojave, it was found within that radius. And so we bought that, and that then became the Mojave nugget, which we exhibited in several museums throughout the United States, and actually took it to Munich when they had their special gold show and put it on exhibit there. But we owned it for about 10 years and then later sold it to the man who owns Peterson Publishing Company here in Los Angeles that has the car museum in on Wilshire Boulevard, Peterson. But we sold
on Wilshire and Fairfax.
Yes, the
right.
old May, wasn't it the old May Company building or something?
No, it was across the street from the May Company. It was on the southeast corner.
So you know
The May Company is on the northeast. Peterson Automotive Museum's on the southeast corner.
Well, we sold it to him thanks to Peter Keller. Peter Keller turned us on to him and said he might be interested in the nugget. And after he passed away, I did the appraisal, and his wife donated it to the LA County Museum, which is where it resides now.
Awesome. And Eloise is probably familiar with that, having been over at the LA County Museum for a number of years. Now, I have another image here that I'm going to share with you because I know that I believe this has an interesting story also. Tell us about this one.
Oh, this was an interesting, I had seen a picture of this in an old publication. It was just listed as a Dr. Jones that lived in Grass Valley. And so I started going through all the medical journals looking for a Dr. Jones who lived in Grass Valley, and I just couldn't find it. I was trying to track down this specimen because it hadn't popped up on display anywhere. So I'm sure it was probably squirreled away in somebody's safe deposit boxes, but I just couldn't find it. And somebody one time when I was up in Grass Valley said, "Oh, well, Dr. Jones was a dentist." Oh, well, that was a whole new shed a whole new light on my efforts to locate him, and I sure enough did. And then I ran down the relatives, which is 2 little old sisters that lived in sisters that lived in Tulare, California. So I ran them down and made contact with them through their attorney. They still owned the specimen, and we ended up buying it and then selling it to James Horner. James Horner bought it, and then later when he passed away or was killed, he ended up at the Houston Museum, and then from there, I don't know where it went. But anyway, it passed through our hands. It's a lovely specimen. not as well crystallized as it would that I'd like to see it, but it's very dramatic and very, very displayable.
Now, Wayne, I know you were telling me, and maybe I got it wrong. I know you were telling me about the seaweed gold, which had an interesting story that was tied in with, with the great photo that I have here of your son. This is not the seaweed gold. I'm trying to figure out, was the seaweed gold one of these?
No. This was a Segerstam collection, which is another collection we bought at auction. It was on display for many, many years. I remember it being at the historical center there in San Francisco, the Wells Fargo Historical Center. Always wanted to buy it. I actually ran that one down and found out it still belonged to the Segerstam family. I tried to buy it from then Charlie Segerstam. And then when he passed away, it ended up in the family trust or something. And then it popped up again for sale at auction, at Bonham's auction. And I was I was in Europe, and I told Donna I'd go down and bid on it and buy it, regardless of what it cost. So we bought that at auction, and that's the Segerstam collection.
And Segerstam, Brian, you will know from South Coast Plaza. That's the same family.
Same family.
Gotcha.
Segerstam's.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, now, Wayne, you are really kind of a consummate collector. So we have a bunch of gold specimens that we're going to do show and tell with. But before we do that, I want you to have a chance to talk about some of the things that we see in the background there, because your study, where you're located right now, is kind of a virtual museum. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing there? I think directly behind you, we have some analysis tools there.
The two large instruments are refractometers, I'm sorry, which
Gotcha.
I traded out of a museum for a gold specimen, by the way. I traded the gold specimens all over the world to various museums for Kongsberg silvers and lesser golds and instruments and other things I was interested in. And then also here, the part of the book collection, the ones over.
We're going to scan around a little bit.
Okay.
Only part of his instruments, Brian. There's one case in the other room that's filled with instruments. But this room is more the classics. The Sowerby's, the Rashleys,
These are most of the older books. The D-Ray Metallica. This is Buffont's copy of D-Ray Metallica. This is an Inconabula. That Inconabula books are books that are written prior to 1500. 2 or 3 of those. Some other important books, mostly Hoover translation of Agricola. Interestingly enough, the Hoover translation of Agricola, his wife, Lou Henry, did most of the translation. It's very difficult to find a copy of the Hoover translation that's signed by her. That's a real interesting thing. Which way are we going, around this way? This is a collection of crystal models done by Mike Gunnell, Mitch Gunnell of Denver. This was his master collection, he called it, which was every one of the crystals where he would identify the faces, each of the faces. They was arranged such that the higher symmetry pieces were up above, and it got down to the lower symmetry, orthorhombic and such down below. But it's hundreds and hundreds of specimens, all with their crystal faces identified and numbered, and very fascinating. But this was what he called a master collection, from which he did smaller ones, which he sold. These are just some interesting things that odds and ends. I have some daguerreotypes of miners, gold miners from California.
Now, Wayne, I've got a photograph of that case right there on my screen. So if there we go. So we can kind of take a little closer look, but go ahead, keep talking about that.
The famous fake gold specimens that were made by a gentleman, we call him Archie Wilson Specialist. He was from Colorado, but he made these fake crystallized gold specimens, which he always put in these wooden boxes, typically with a heavy weight in the bottom. So when you picked up the box, it felt like it was real gold. They were all fake, and these are just odds and ends. There's a few things in here, just mementos that I have to do collect smaller books on mineralogy here. A lot of the small model books which are very collectible. Crystal models. I don't really collect that complete sets of crystal models, but I got a lot of odd ones. This is an assay gift I bought from the widow, or not the widow, but the granddaughter of a man who worked all of his life in Crete, Colorado, a mineralogist, but it was made in Germany, but it's very, very hard to find one with all of its instruments. And down below is one of the things that I kept when we bought the Philadelphia Academy of Science mineral collection. It's the micronaut collection of Mr. Hess.
This,
Yes,
this.
this. Beautiful micromounts of all done in small boxes. But and
Wonderful.
there's micromounts in here of from our collection when we first won the very first prize of in San Mateo. We won a first prize with micronauts. In this area are other rare books in mineralogy, mostly larger ones down below and smaller ones up above here.
Not to mention the pipe collection.
Pipe collection. I like pipes. Occasionally I even smoke them, believe it or not. Yeah. So that's most of the books are in this area here. Instruments here. All kinds of instruments. A signed picture of James Dana. Some stones, some of which we found. A couple of them I found. Shark teeth. And then over
That's
here.
Wonderful. It's a virtual museum there, Wayne.
Yes, it is.
And here are mostly books with hand-colored plates. Everything on this shelf has, down below, has got hand-colored plates of mineral specimens. Sarbies, British mineralogy,
Back in your
Sarbies,
seat,
exotic Sarbies, conchology, all Sarbies.
Okay.
These are some of the larger texts.
Well, wonderful. I know I've had the great privilege of being down in that study and filming a bunch of those books, and they are, I know very little about old mineral books, but I was certainly impressed and in awe when you were sharing a lot of the information about those books. So thanks for the quick walk around. Let's get to arguably the most exciting part of the show, where you get to show us some killer live gold specimens. What do you guys want to start with?
Probably, I would say the corsage.
Oh, the corsage. Incredible piece. This is from an ad that I think...
That one either. That came to us.
Oh, no, okay.
Put names on gold specimens. I never do it, but this one had, when it was found, the family that found it, the daughter called it the corsage because it sort of has the shape of like a corsage. Oops.
Hey, Donna, could you raise that up and maybe pull it back just a little bit? There we go.
But it has a tree root that goes through it, and people think, well, how can it form underground and have a tree root going through it? And it turns out that once it's formed, it gets pushed to the surface, and it was found underneath a pine tree. The daughter who's still surviving, the gentleman that found it, said that the tree root from the pine tree had grown, intertwined itself into the gold specimen. And then down below is a quartz specimen, which you can still see the gold running into the interior of the quartz, and it's firmly attached to the bottom of the specimen.
I love that they left the tree root in it. Donna, can you show us the back of that specimen? I don't think a lot of people get to see the back of it.
It's equally as beautiful on the back. It's a fine example of leaf gold.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
The Red Ledge find. It was found in 1959.
And how long have you had that piece, Wayne?
That came out of the Sagersum collection, so that would be 1970. Crespi collection, yeah. What did I think? Yeah, it was 1978, 79.
Wow.
Same year we bought this house.
That is such an iconic piece. I know that you brought that to the 50th anniversary Munich show, and you had it on exhibit there. And you talked to us. I think I was with Raquel and Eloise, and we're all hanging around you, and you gave us a whole lecture on it. It was absolutely incredible. I've got another great photograph of it here to really kind of show you the details of it. And just incredible piece. And I love that you shared with us the backside, because again, when that's on display, usually you only see this side, which is the proper way to display it. But that backside is equally fascinating to me. Terrific. All right.
It's been around the world too. We've learned the gold collection to. It's been to Paris. It's been to Bonn. It's been to Munich. It was on display at Bowers, the Perot, and then they used a lot of our stuff in the celebration of California's sesquicentennial of the gold rush.
Say that 10 times fast.
In Sacramento.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay, now what about this piece that you shared with me yesterday in our kind of technical test?
Yeah, this is a biggie, and it's heavy.
Well, maybe we can have Lois tilt the camera down a little bit so that.
What I'm going to do is tilt over here, and she's going to put it on a black background for you.
Ah, beautiful. Lois, pop your head in and just say hello to everyone.
Hi. Put it up. There we go.
This was from the Eagle's Nest mine. It was found in the early 90s. It's one of the few major specimens that I collected. I sold a lot of specimens larger than that, but I thought that this one is the best crystallized piece that the mine produced. As I say, not all about the size, it's about the degree of crystallization, and this was a super one.
That's fantastic. Lois, could you bring that to the camera so we can see some of the details of it a little bit better? Wow.
Nice.
No, not your fingernail polish.
Well, I have a good grip on it.
Okay, all right. That's the most important thing.
It's a heavy one.
Oh my goodness. All right. What's next?
You want to see some other goals?
Does the Pope poop in the woods?
Oh, here's a good story. This one here, a lot of people see it and consider it one of the best crystallized golds they've ever seen. But there's no mine, no real specific locality. It was found by a young boy. I say a young boy because we're an old person.
There's a beautiful octahedron.
Can you show us the back of the piece?
But anyway, he found it, that and just a few small pieces.
With the metal detector. It was found, and we know about where it was found. Turns out that a lot of these metal detector guys don't like to say where their pieces are from because it could be on a patented claim. So if they say, oh, it's found in certain mine, then the owner of the mine could come back and say, well, you stole that from my mine. So a lot of the people that do metal detecting and do some of this sniping work, they don't like to tell people where, like the California or the Mojave nugget. I've since found out where it's from. But at the time I purchased it, the man would not tell me where it was from.
No, I'm sorry. Did you say what state it was found in? Do we know the state at least?
It was found
it's a California piece. Okay.
Yeah, it was found out near Mojave. That's true. This is a Sagerstrom piece here.
Okay, this one is out of the Sagerstrom collection.
That's the one when you saw the picture of the Sagerstrom collection was up in the upper left-hand corner. That's the one piece because it was on matrix, and it's another fine example of bright, leafy, crystallized gold.
It's the one up in the upper left corner.
Upper left. Okay, so that's a photo of it in the upper left corner. And Donna's actually holding the piece live for us in front of the camera. That's incredible. And you haven't named that because it almost looks like a
I don't name gold.
a horse, or maybe that's the alpaca gold.
How many gold specimens are called the dragon?
Right.
I know at least 12 that are the dragon. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's in a way, it's a little childish, but it's my.
We're all children at heart, so
some of them obvious. The name matches.
Yeah, matches, but most of them not.
But the Segerstroms still are one of the prominent families in California, and certainly the southern portion of the Segerstroms are world renowned for South Coast.
What does the back of that look like, Donna? Can you show us the back?
It's about the same.
It's still hung together, but you see.
Fantastic. I'm fascinated by doing 360s of the gold. Oftentimes, like we're seeing here, the front is just as good as the back.
Yes, yeah.
And so this is a really rare opportunity for our viewers to be able to see these pieces front and back, and side and top, and hey, any way you want to show it.
Yeah, sideways.
Wayne, I have a question. Wayne and Donna, do you have a tendency to collect more like leafy crystalline gold or any type of crystalline gold?
Well, no, I like crystallized gold. No, I have a lot of them with nice chunky octahedrons too, and wires. Here's a specimen here with.
I'm going to show you this one from the Magenta mine.
It's nice bright wires.
All these wires are holding these leaves together.
Oh, can you bring that closer to the camera so we can see the wires?
It looks like a little bit like a Breckenridge.
Yeah, it does. But the difference between this specimen and Breckenridge, the Breckenridge wires are very dull and these are very bright and well crystallized. This is a really unusual specimen. But to answer your question, yes, we do have. I've got some Colorado quartz specimens with nice chunky octahedrons, but a lot of the stuff, like the Brazilian stuff, once it gets water worn, I'm not interested in it. Once the luster is off, but it's very difficult to get nice chunky crystals of gold that are bright, and brightness is very, very important to me.
I see. So Wayne, you're focused on the pieces that have high luster, very high brightness.
And not tumbled or, been in the soil and dull.
This one's particularly bright.
Just like a mirror, yeah.
But it's just all a series of flattened octahedrons.
They're elongated octahedrons is what they are. Gold tends to grow preferentially on the 1-1-1 face, so it forms these leaves. But then they get coarser. If it grows into a leaf, then it's nice and smooth. But this particular one didn't get a chance to form a complete leaf. So you see the nice structure of the crystals on the surface.
Donna, if you hold that right in front of your forehead, I could imagine that being like the centerpiece of a tiara. That would look wonderful.
It's the
Definitely. Maybe I'll fashion one.
Maybe difficult to see, but this has got 1.5 centimeters. This is from the Colorado quartz mine. This has got 1.25 centimeters bright, sharp octahedron right dead center, and maybe it's kind of buried down in there. But no, I like chunky octahedrons, but I don't want, if they've been water worn or they're not nice and bright, then I don't want them.
So you're mainly collecting in Colorado and California, is that right?
Yeah, predominantly California.
Any Romanian?
I had a really, really nice wire gold from Breckenridge, and I sold it at the MIMS Museum 5 or 6 years ago. I'm specialized almost exclusively in California golds now.
That's the back of it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Or I don't think this one has a back and a front, really.
Yeah,
no. That needs to be on a rotating mount so people can see it come to life.
I think this is one of my favorites.
This is the one that the Paris National Museum really loved. They tried to beat me out of that specimen.
I think they called that the platypus.
Yeah. Here again, it doesn't have a name.
We're just not getting the color.
Yeah, it's hard to get the color right, but we can get an idea. Maybe hold it a little bit more to your left, Donna, so it's kind of center of the frame. There we go.
Yeah.
Where is that one from, Wayne?
California. It's actually came out of the Sagerstom collection too, or not Sagerstom. I'm sorry, the Crespi collection. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Eagle's Nest gold.
Oh.
That's Eagle's Nest. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But this is an old Eagle's Nest gold.
That was collected in the late 80s, 1980.
I'm sorry, Brian, but I love gold. We have an amazing collection, so I've been trained over the years to really look at gold differently.
Harvard has a wonderful collection too.
Yeah, so that's why. Sorry.
Yeah, you have.
Raquel, all the emeralds in the world just got jealous.
The one that I like is your Spinel twin, the elongated. When Frondel was the curator there, he asked me to come and appraise the collection. That was many, many years ago. And I did an appraisal. But my favorite piece isn't the cube or the hopper cube that you have. It's that Spinel twin, that elongated Spinel twin. That's my favorite.
I agree. That's my favorite.
The wire is quite nice too, but it's from Colorado.
I saw Eloise's head going like this, and I couldn't tell if she was rocking out to some music or if she was agreeing emphatically.
No, that's my favorite gold specimen from Beck. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at this.
This is another wire gold, and fortunately, this is a specimen that I sold.
Donna, to the left a little bit, please.
German, and it had a locality on it. And then later it came back to me without the locality, and I've forgotten what the locality was, but it was a kind of a one pocket find of gold, probably in Calaveras County, but I'm not. Eventually I'll remember where the specimen came from, but it's wire gold from California.
With a nice old museum type label on the back, which we've never been able to.
Is there black thing pet site?
No, there's no pet site on that one. I don't have anything in the collection that I can show you that has pet site on it. I love gold specimens with pet site, but often so necessarily in the area where you get the best crystal.
Raquel, here's one that when Cliff Frondel was with us, he's completely fascinated by this gold.
He said it was the most unusual gold specimen he'd ever seen. It's all natural. You can see the trigons on the surface.
Right down where you went.
So it's like three flats?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a twin.
Wow.
That's crazy.
He said it was the most unusual gold specimen he'd ever seen. By the way, Dr. Frondel was our very first house guest at this house that we live in.
I'm sure he enjoyed it.
On the bottom, it's got a little octahedron.
Little octahedrons on there, sharp little octahedrons on there.
That's a piece of jewelry in itself.
Yeah, it is.
I've never seen that one.
No, and then there's another wire. Nothing comparing to Harvard's wire.
Interesting on this, but this came from the Eagle's Nest mine, but these are Spinel twins. You can see the little barbs sticking out both sides, and then they get smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually just break into a wire and perfectly smooth on the top.
Fantastic.
You see that formation now in the new Moroccan golds, the Spinel twins with the little barbs that go all the way up.
Okay. What are your thoughts on those new Moroccan golds?
They're really interesting.
The crystallization is
wonderful.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, very...
But wouldn't you like to see a group of them on Matrix? I know it's never
Keep putting it out there and they'll make one.
I'm sure.
They're kind of hard to display. That's true. but I also like other things too, like native elements. And I had a very, very fine native lead, which I sold to the MIMS Museum too. But I also like silvers too. So I'll show you a couple of Kongsberg silvers. Yeah. This is from Kongsberg.
Kongsberg, Kings Mountain. Peter Lichtberg, who's watching the show right now, gave a great presentation on Kongsberg at the Dallas Symposium, and just incredible pieces. That's fantastic. Tell us about that, Wayne.
This specimen came out of the, you see that was Mike Cannell's. You see this came out of Mike Cannell's collection. When I bought his collection years ago, I kept that specimen. And then the other one, this one I traded out of the Sorbonne when Pierre Barrion was there. I traded him a gold specimen for that. It was on display at the museum, and I had my choice between that and another wiry one, and I chose this one because I liked the fact that it was nice and sturdy, and it sits very nicely, sits on its own. But that came out of the Sorbonne in exchange for a gold specimen. So the gold specimen that's currently at the Sorbonne from the Eagle's Nest mine was traded for that specimen.
This one's just kind of wild.
Yeah, it's also Kongsberg.
Oh, it forms a letter B. I think that's mine.
Yeah. Lois says it's a heart.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
But it's
a heart.
But I do like silvers too.
Oh, that's amazing.
And show him. Did we bring along the copper, the wire copper?
No.
He did not. Okay.
Give me another gold.
Oh, here's a good silver.
I think we're all just staring at the screens with our jaws open.
Oh, this is a Mexican silver from Batopilos. An interesting. I sold that specimen 30 years ago and ended up buying it back at almost 3 times what I sold it for because I wanted it back because I was trying to complete a gold, silver, platinum suite, and so that's it.
The other copper.
Yeah. This is an unusual animal. And when you first see it, you think, oh, it's a silver. It's not. It's a copper. It's a wire copper from the Osceola mine in Michigan.
Wow.
Looks like a silver, doesn't, especially in its.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely looks like a silver. You would have fooled me.
Yeah. As you can see, I like native elements, but we also sell everything, even agates. We've been known to even sell agate.
Okay, this is probably I would think this is one of the premier golds of the world.
Yeah, it's Eagle's Nest. That came out in the early 90s. The 4th level of the Eagle's Nest mine. Here again, it's equally as good on one side as on both sides. I left a little bit more quartz on this side to kind of make that the back. But the front, it's very well crystallized, elongated crystals.
Now, Wayne, you're fairly active in terms of getting these pieces and taking x-rays of them and chipping away the quartz to get the final specimen. So how many of these pieces have you kind of worked on to clean up, to expose the golds, and how many have just come as they are?
Just a little bit. We basically came out more or less that way. As I recall, I took about a ½ inch off the base so it would set nicely. But no, we worked on that a little bit. No, the really large one that you saw from Eagle's Nest, no work has been done on that. It came out the way it came out. And the coupage, it was just the way it was found. So, but now I've turned all that over to Lois. Lois is equally as good at preparing golds as I used to be.
Fantastic.
Move over, Collector's Edge. There's a new kid on the block.
She loves to do it. She'll spend hours and hours and hours. But yes, in a really large, like for example, we've got a gold on display at the Bowers Museum. It has 125 ounces of gold, and it's a size bigger than a watermelon. And that we x-rayed top, bottom, side, and just so we could tell where the gold was, and then started chipping away at it. But Lois did all the work on that specimen, and she did a marvelous job. It's on loan to the Bowers Museum for a special exhibit there.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask Raquel to go ahead and launch the poll. Donna, if a window pops up on your screen, you can go ahead and close that out. You're not even supposed to be reading that. So let's, maybe the viewers can answer that poll. And then let me go to, I think this is a photo of that specimen that you just held up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's one of the premier specimens out of the Eagle's Nest.
Now, I've got a couple other images I want to share here. Is this the specimen that you were just speaking of?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one.
Now, this is interesting because there's a man by the name of Don Dickey who owns the Oriental mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he loaned that specimen along with some other pieces to the LA County Museum. It was in a display, but it was covered with like an old piece of burlap miner's bag or something. None of this gold was showing, just a little bit on the surface. And that's how it was for years and years and years. When Don Dickey died several years ago, Esai, his widow, said, "I need your help." And the first thing she wanted was to recover all of the golds that were on loan to the museum. Okay. So that's where this one came from. And the more Wayne looked at it, he said, "Wait a minute, this thing is super heavy."
Well, they estimated only 50 ounces of gold in it. Even the miner didn't think it was more than 50 ounces. And when we went to get it, thanks to Peter Keller, he helped me remove it from the collection. When I picked it up, I told Peter, I said, "There's a hell of a lot more than 50 ounces of gold in this." From just having hefted so many gold specimens, I knew that it was pretty major. So then we x-rayed it and started working on it, or Lois did.
And that's the end result. There's also another one that's about like that, but not as large. But Don Dickey kept.
Is it this one that you're talking about, Donna?
No, this one is from the Jamestown find on Christmas Day back in the 90s, where the gold was so thick coming down the conveyor belt that it jammed up the conveyor belt. And so the miners stopped the belt, removed what they thought was all just debris, and because they're used to having all the pieces of equipment in there coming down. And then they came back to it later, and holy moly.
Yeah, it was 250 pounds of gold, of which this is one of the better specimens. A lot of them were munched and crunched because they'd gone through a conveyor belt and hadn't gone through the crusher, but they came very close. But we handle all of those golds from the Arizona, or from this Sonora mine.
But that one you showed the picture of, that was sold to Barry Yempole.
Okay.
I have no idea where it is now.
Well, nobody does.
Hey.
So are these mines still in operation? Are new specimens coming out?
No, the Oriental mine is not. But Don Dickey mined it for 50 years. His mother surprisingly mined it during the war.
Wow.
And Don never sold anything. So what we have is a 50-year accumulation of the output of the Oriental mine that we're going through slowly and recovering specimens when we can. And the rest of it, will just go off to the refiner. But it's a lot of work. And the Eagle's Nest mine, of course, as many people know, has been sold a couple of years ago to Danny Tranchillo.
Right.
We wish him well with that. There's still gold in them there hills.
There's plenty of gold. But the problem is getting it out cheaper than it's worth more than it costs you to get it out of the mine. That's the problem.
Sure.
And then you have to deal with the state of California, whose stance is no mining, no time.
Yeah, no, California is a very, very difficult state to mine in. It's a very green state. So especially small mining operations have been virtually crushed by the state.
Well, the Eagle's Nest mine was just a man and his two sons.
Yeah.
And one small dump operator who high-graded the mine one evening, and this is where the name Mystery Wind came up. There's specimens that came on the market labeled Mystery Wind. That's what he high-graded because I'd been in the tunnel with him, and I said, I feel cold air. And he said, oh, yes, there's some air that comes in through here like a mystery wind. And that stuck with me. And then as soon as I saw these specimens come up on the market, I said, aha.
I know where it came from.
That's great. So anyone out there, if you find a gold specimen labeled Mystery Wind, you now know it came from the Eagle's Nest.
No such mine.
Yeah, exactly. Wayne, Donna, how many gold specimens do you have in your collection?
18.
18. She knows more about my gold collection than I do. Lois does.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right. We're at the top of the hour, so we're running a little bit behind, but that was predictable. We're at the point in the show where we're going to do our Quickfire 5 questions for you. So you understand how this works. I have 5 questions. The audience has all already answered how they are predicting you will answer. So all of your answers are correct. And I'm going to read the questions off, and you have to answer immediately which of the 2 answers you resonate with strongest. So
it applies to both of us because it's vastly different.
I think you'll have the same answers here.
Could be.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll learn. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Question number 1. Favorite drink, Manhattan or Old Fashioned?
Manhattan.
Oh, didn't take you long to answer that one. Question number 2. Preference of snails, land snails or sea snails?
Land snails.
Land snails. Okay. Question number 3. Your favorite Albert Chapman or Albert Einstein?
Albert Chapman.
Question number 4. This is a real tough one. You're going to have to dig deep into your memory, okay? Best place to put car keys while traveling, on the table or in the refrigerator?
In the refrigerator.
And final question, favorite collectible, gold or silver? I know that's a tough one.
Gold.
Yeah, it has
gold. Okay. All right. We have our answers. Eloise, are we ready with the answers from the viewers?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. Okay, question number 1. Favorite drink, Manhattan or Old Fashioned? Without hesitation, Donna said Manhattan. What did our viewers say?
With hesitation, Old Fashioned.
Ooh, that's a wrong one. Question number 2, preference of snails.
Nancy with the Old Fashioned.
Preference of snails, land snails or sea snails? Wayne went with land snails. What did our viewers say?
Sea snails. Sea snails.
snails.
The wrong one again.
Wayne has a fabulous collection of land snails. Shells, not the live snails.
The colorful ones from Cuba.
Oh, neat.
Yes, he does have a collection of land snails from Cuba, but he loves escargot. So
Yeah.
that I'd say was a toss-up.
Fair enough. Favorite Albert Chapman or Albert Einstein? They went with the Chapman.
Chapman, yes.
Chapman. Okay, good.
Australian collector. He had a most beautiful collection. One of the very first collections that I really got a chance to spend a good deal of time when I was traveling with Paul Desautel's. We went to a conference there in Sydney, and I spent a whole afternoon with Chapman. Wonderful
Beautiful.
collector. His collections now at the Australian Museum, most of it, the bulk of it. And it's worth seeing. It's worth taking the whole trip there to see it.
Well, I would take that trip, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, question number 4. Best place to put car keys while traveling? On the table or in the refrigerator? Without any hesitation, Wayne and Donna said in the refrigerator. What did our viewers say?
In the refrigerator, indeed. That's obvious, isn't it?
That's a whole story about that.
Of course.
Wayne will never live that down, I believe.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
And final question, favorite collectible, gold or silver? Gold was the answers from the light. What did the viewers say?
97% answered gold. Of course.
I love it. That's 3 out of 5. Unfortunately, if it was 5 out of 5, all the viewers would have gotten a complimentary wire gold from Kristalle. But hey, maybe next time.
That's fine. I prefer the spinel twin gold, so just send me one. Okay.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to go into our Q. I'm sorry, what was that, Donna?
You have a lot
We
of
have
questions.
18 golds now, but I mean, at various times we've had more. But
Yeah, well,
sometimes people talk us out of some of them.
Well, after you distribute the gold to the Mineral Talks Live crew, you'll only have 15. Okay, we're going to go to the Q&A section. Raquel has a whole bunch of fascinating questions from the viewers that you guys can answer live. So Raquel, I hand the mic over to
from
you.
here. So I'm going to go in order. How do you pronounce Kristalle?
We pronounce it Cristalla.
And what's
Cristalla.
what's the origin? Well, how do you came with that name?
That came from a book by Werner Lieber, who did just a small paperback book called Kristalle.
It means crystals in German.
Very nice. Thank you. When did you both move away from Baltimore?
When did we move? We didn't move to Hawaii.
Darn it. You missed a great opportunity there.
No, Laguna Beach.
Yeah, we did go. Oh, we were in Hawaii quite often because of the Lyman Museum.
Lyman, yeah.
Supplied him with a lot of specimens.
So I think the question is, when did you move from Baltimore? Is that correct, Raquel? Raquel?
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Let's see, we were married in 66,
66.
1966, and we had a little Volkswagen, and we were trailing a camper, fold-up camper trailer behind us, and we took 3 months to come to California, up and down the United States, collecting, stopping to see museums, collectors.
So how come you established yourself in Laguna? What made you decide that's the place you want to?
Well, when Wayne worked at Aeronutronic, we lived in Corona del Mar, which is
Newport Beach.
part of Newport Beach. And one of his people he worked with lived in Laguna. So we visited with them often. And then Dr. Thien and Wayne bought some lots in Laguna, some empty lots up on the hill together, which we later sold when we started the business. And everybody said, "You're crazy. It's the worst recession we've ever had. You're going to lose your shirt. You don't want to quit your job." But we did it anyway. So we sold the lots, the money for those came from wedding presents. People gave us money because they knew we were not going to settle in Maryland. So they gave us money. We bought the lots bought Kristalle, and there we go.
It's a little more complicated than that.
Very nice. This one you might understand. So from George Adelman, did you ever hear of a dentist counterfeiting gold crystals? He has been looking for a reference to an article about him.
Yeah, there've been several attempts to, but and they have with some success, but they're so obviously grown, like some silvers. They grow silvers electrolytically, and there have been some attempts to grow gold crystals too, but you can spot them a mile away. They're not very large and they're not very good. So I've never seen any of them that have been synthesized that are of what I consider specimen grade.
But over the years, there have been some questionable, do you want to call them fakes? Remember the Russian ones?
Oh yeah, well, there've been a lot of fake golds, but they've been. If you look at them closely, you can generally tell they're fake.
Interesting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from another attendee. He said, perhaps you don't want to wish to say, but how do the gold specimens travel to the exhibits? How to keep them secure?
We hand carry a lot of them, believe it or not. Lois sometimes she feels like a pack mule.
Sometimes they're carried, sometimes Brinks.
Sometimes
It depends on the situation and where we're going.
Yeah, we do the same from the museum when we were going for the Munich show for the 50th. Then we have brings. Sometimes it's also hand carry, so a mix. You have to look at the situation where they're going, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. From Niels, he would like to know if you recommend any accessible book for new mineral collectors, like you must read, if you will.
For me, it's always been Johnson Kankis Mineralogy.
For amateurs, yeah.
Mineralogy for amateurs. And he has by far the best chapters on crystallography that a layperson can understand of any of the books I've seen. And of course, Uncle Freddie Poe, almost all of us of a certain age started out with the field guide to rocks and minerals. But Johnson Kankis still holds it for
amateurs is a good book to start.
Thank you. Why aren't there any pieces from the Placer area? Is Mojave a better place to find the good specimens?
They're still looking out there in the Mojave Desert. But here again, this is around the town of Randsburg, the Randsburg mining district. The rest of the Mojave Desert is completely closed off to any collecting whatsoever, which is a shame because, kids that are interested in minerals, one of the greatest things you can do for them is to take them on a field trip.
Sure.
To collect something. Once they collect something, they get it.
I agree. What about the Death Valley? Any gold on the Death Valley area?
No.
No.
That's all sedimentary rock. Well, not all sedimentary, mostly sedimentary rocks out there. We were just in Death Valley 3 weeks ago, and believe me, there's a little bit on the west side of the Panamint Range. There's Skidoo and a couple of other mining camps, but not in the valley itself. It's a mountainous area, mostly to the west of this
Darwin
and north and north and west of Death Valley. There is some gold much in the valley itself.
Another question: how fragile are the specimens? Really easy to break off the crystals?
Gold is very ductile. You can bend it. And as a consequence, you don't want to start bending it quite a lot, but it isn't like if you drop them, they'll break. Usually they'll bend if you drop them. But, you don't want to, if they're on matrix, you can drop them and it'll knock them off the matrix. That's the worst case. But no, they're pretty ductile. It's a soft material, so it'll bend rather than break typically.
Yes, we have some of our gold are coming from, they are losing the matrix because the quartz get in little pieces. So do you repair them? Do you try to repair the matrix or do anything to make it consistent?
No, generally I don't. If it comes off the matrix, it's off. I know of one gold specimen from the Eagle's Nest that where it's sitting on the matrix and it sits there very nicely, but it's not really attached, and I won't glue it back on the matrix. But if the man who owns it's a beautiful specimen, has it in his collection on display, but it goes crystallized gold sits on the matrix, but it's not attached. Typically, we don't. Maybe we'll reinforce something, but once it's off, it's off.
I see. Peter Leiber is saying that they can be scratched easily.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Sure.
This is a little bit more technical, Thomas. Wait, do you ever had these gold wires cross section? Would it be interesting to see if the gold wires are polycrystalline inside, like the silver wires are?
Yeah, somebody studied that very, very. Somebody used him specimens. His name right up. John Rakovic.
Well, of course, John worked on your big wire gold.
Yeah.
Which was so fascinating.
I've shown him that little one that I showed you about the Spinel twins and the smooth wire. But no, anything that he needs to study, I haven't done it myself. But John has done it and done a good job with it.
Yes. So what we came from, one of the conclusions from the study is that what we think are wires are mainly spinel twins.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it into detail.
Oh, yeah.
So true wires, there are only few, and the Colorado area is the one that produced them. So it's a little bit of misunderstanding of what true wire versus a spinel twin flattened out tiny.
For years, that specimen that I showed you is a manifestation of that, and a beautiful example of how the Spinel twins just get the barbs get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then just break into a wire. So I sent that to him, and he studied it, and but I was quite sure that was what was going to be the results.
Yeah. Thank you. We have this Tony Albini. You mentioned you started with micromounts. I mentioned Neil Yedley, who he know from Connecticut. Do you still have any of these micromounts in your collection?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, and when Paul Desautel used to visit with us, he would sit down here with Wayne and they would look at micromounts. And I thought, this is a curious sight. The curator of one of the world's most famous collection and the Hope Diamond, and they're all giddy about looking through the microscope down here.
Well, micromounts are pure mineralogy. I'm not so sure that the era that we live in now, it's all about specimens and all about trophies, unfortunately.
But I learned, that's the way I did learn mineralogy. I knew a cuprous gadalskite long before I knew a calcite.
I agree. I think,
and it was fun to collect. I mean, you could go anywhere and find micromounts if you were patient enough.
Yeah, if you want to study mineralogy, start with micromounts and buy yourself a good microscope, zoom scope, and you can learn more in mineralogy in a weekend at a conference than you'll learn at any given mineral show.
Especially crystallography, because in a micromount, you do get true perfection of form.
And also associations. You can see all the different associations that are likely to occur on a particular specimen, and you can usually guess at what would be associated with a particular specimen, or should be.
We have a few hundred of our micromounts still, but the bulk of it was given over to the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles, and they have it.
We kept part of our collection, 50 mounts that we won a trophy with, and we have Paul Desautel's what they call friendship mounts, Neil Yedlin, Lou Perloff, and then of course Paul Seal. We have a lot of those that I just keep for sentimental reasons, and of course we have this collection.
Beautiful. Very classic locality other than a metallic location.
Say again.
Like a classic locality that is not necessarily gold locality.
Well, there's so many classics. One that pops to me immediately is Bisbee. There's a classic. Sumeb.
sumac, Bisbee are the most ones that come to mind. But I also have a very fondness in my heart for the Grandview mine, because I found 2 new minerals at the Grandview mine, which later turned out to be Grandviewite and then also later Parnoite. Both of those specimens were found at the Grandview mine, and did my senior project and discovered those 2 new minerals. Ironically, my professor was here just yesterday visiting. He's still alive, still lives in Huntington Beach. Came down, and I told him that and I was going to give him a copy of the report. But the 2 minerals that I did unknowns from mine turned out to be unknowns. Grandviewite, which is a hydrated state of cyanotrichite, and Parnoite, which is a copper aluminum sulfates. Both turned out to be new minerals. So that's my portray into new minerals. So
I don't think I knew that face on you. That's that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any Electrum specimens? And I think that depends on what you use as a definition for Electrum, right?
Tell me what the definition of Electrum is, and I'll tell you.
We think that any of the golds we have studied, we have done already few, they all have around 70% gold and 30% silver. Yeah. So to be an Electrum, you need to have much more silver than that percentage.
Yeah. Now, I have nothing in my collection, but we do have in our inventory a lot of specimens which are technically Electrum, but we still label them crystallized gold or gold. You know, if you want to analyze each specimen, some of the ones from Spatak are very high silver from Romania. Even some from Colorado will run, and the Round Mountain material, God, it's about 700 fine, if that. So it's right on the border edges, whether you call it Electrum or whether you call it. So those are arbitrary. You know, historically, it used to be 20%. It was 20% silver. We call it Electrum. Well, now it's 30%. But where in your literature do you see that written down, that anything with more than 30% silver is Electrum? I don't see that in the literature.
Agree. Eloise, were you about to say something about that?
What's that?
Elo?
No.
No. Okay, sorry. I saw you saying. I agree with you, Wayne. The whole the field is a little bit gray between.
Arbitrary. Yeah, it's arbitrary.
Yes. And I like that we agree. And then maybe the last one, because do you get any specimens from Lou Perloff collection?
Probably,
yeah. I'm sure I have some. He was mostly liquor mounts. He was a photographer. That was his forte, and a wonderful photographer of micro minerals. But he was not one to sit down and put them in boxes and label them nicely. But we had specimens from Lou's collection, but whether they're in micro mount boxes and labeled as such, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but he was a wonderful micromounter, one of the Lou Perloff, Lou Perloff, and then who was the attorney? His name I can't dredge up. Anyway, many of these famous micromounters didn't really make micromounts. It didn't put them in little boxes and label them. They just loved micromounts and they photographed them. So we call them micromounters there.
Okay. We have one last question from Andrea Hart, which I know she really loves you. Yeah, she's asking, what's your favorite mineralogical book? Which I assume is your favorite from your whole library. Is that right?
You know, that I have to hats off to Andrea, because early on with this library, she was the one that started to catalog. Yeah. She was on a.
Looks like we lost the connection. Maybe it's going to be reconnected, but it sounds like what Donna's saying is Andrea Hart was responsible for starting the catalog for Wayne's extensive book collection. So hopefully we're getting them back soon. Okay, they're back. They're back.
Probably the Conte Filegro, which is a Hamilton book on the eruption of Vesuvius, with all these 50 hand-colored folio-sized and colored plates. 3-volume set. I just acquired that about 5 years ago.
That Hamilton is the one that made all the comments in the Freilich collection. That was the major thing in the Freilich collection. And Wayne has been chasing this one copy for nearly 25 years. It was owned by a man up in Pasadena. And no, I don't want to sell it. No, I don't want to sell it. No, I don't want to sell it.
No, that was a featured piece in the Freilich book collection, was that book. And I knew that there was one right up here in Pasadena I'd heard about, and I just kept after the guy and finally was able to acquire it. So that's probably my favorite book right now, but it could change tomorrow if I see something else. But the library, there's so few things that I really lust after. There's a couple. Love to get some more incunabula, though. A couple more books on written in the before 1500. I would pop for that now, but they're so expensive.
Well, you got big congratulations from another amazing collector couple, Herb and Monica. So just so you know, they are congratulating you on your collection. So from one bright mind to another.
And Herb is a bright mind.
Oh, yeah,
Our very first Munich shows, we were next to Herb.
And we had so much fun.
Guests from overseas.
Oh, yeah.
And over the years, I played this game with Herb, and he never disappointed. I would strip a label off of the ugliest, tiniest thing I could find and hand it to Herb and say, Herb, I lost the label. What is this? He was never wrong, ever.
No, thank you. When Herb was in business, mineral dealing used to be fun. Mineral dealers were our best friends. We'd go out and drink and have fun, but it's a different business now, and it's too bad because a lot of the fun is not what it used to be.
But I will create fun wherever I go.
We need your parties. They want to those were amazing.
Yeah. Speaking of parties, here we got a shot of your infamous blue party.
That was
and this was in Tucson, and this was another one of your grand parties.
That was the Gold Rush party. That was so good.
And I love this one because it always begs the question, hey, Wayne, why the long face? The parties are infamous, and my understanding is they're coming back Tucson 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, we had to postpone number 50, but so we're going to pick it up 50 plus one.
Beautiful.
Can I just say one last thing? I have a lot of people congratulating you on the chat. I have love it, sensational, amazing, superb, gorgeous, maravilloso, all good things from people. So thank you. And I had one last question that was not from the audience today, but that I sent to you a few weeks ago. It was from Rui Galopin, who is in charge of looking at the Portuguese crown jewels. And there is a big, large nuggets, 20 kilograms or over, that has been sitting there for who knows how many, like hundreds of years, from Brazil. And the nugget is not shiny and pretty, and he will call it's dusty. Mm-hmm. What should he do? What should he do with it? Should he leave it as is, not cleaned, or should he try to contact you and see what's possible to be done with this nugget?
If they would send a photo to Wayne, and then right off we can.
Well, the question is, it's a nugget. To me, it's water worn. If it's a mass of gold with some quartz on it, I don't call that a nugget. It's a lump of gold, that's true, but it's not a nugget. I sort of define a nugget as something that's been found in the alluvium and it's water worn. So it depends. I have to see it in order to give him any advice or give a person any advice as to whether you would clean it or not clean it. If it's really a water worn nugget and it's dull, You could polish it, I suppose. I mean,
No.
yeah, I would not recommend it. It's pretty, you could polish it. But if it's in quartz and the quartz could be removed and it's crystallized, I would do something altogether different. So I have to have more information than just the fact that it's a nugget.
I will tell him that.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you very much.
Send
Photos
us
are
a
helpful.
photograph. Send us a photograph. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Well, thank
So
you.
Raquel, do we have any other questions for our golden couple here?
Well,
I think we already took a lot of your time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much our golden 50th anniversary show for you.
Yeah,
I'm
Lois is popping in for a minute.
Yes, yes. Donna, Wayne, thank you so much for helping us celebrate. And speaking of celebration, I'd like to raise this glass to you guys as a mutual celebration of our anniversaries. Yeah. Lois and some of your friends have gotten you a little bubbly, so here's to you guys.
Wayne and Donna.
Thank you.
For 50
Cheers.
years.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Brian and SMP for fabulous work.
Yes. Very
Cheers
good.
to you guys, and see you
Our
soon.
absolute pleasure.
This is the
all
glass
right.
from the American Mineralogies was the centennial.
Can you,
Oh,
can you
okay.
show that?
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
It's the 100 years of the American Mineralogy Society.
Oh, like that.
I love it. I love it.
This is my Swarovski glass.
Nice one.
Look at that.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's
bling,
fun.
bling. We've got
I love
bling.
it.
And this is my glass from Sainte Marie that I bought many years ago, and I love the shape of these glasses. And it's the Vino Verde that I had from the Rui interview. Not the same, but it's from the same bottle. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
All right. And to all our viewers out there, make sure to tune into Blue Cat Productions YouTube channel, where tomorrow we'll be releasing our interview with Nikolai Medvedev. And that's not Nikolai, but that is Nikolai right there. And Nikolai is an incredible Intarsia artist based out of Tucson, Arizona. This episode originally aired on May 12, 2021, and in it we saw some of Nikolai's absolutely breathtaking work. It'll be on exhibit at the new Alfie Norville Gem and Mineral Museum in Tucson. You do not want to miss this. As for Mineral Talks Live, I still can't believe that it's been one whole year since we started. Speaking for myself, it's been an absolute honor for me that all of you have so lovingly embraced our little show here. Over the past 50 shows, I've received many emails from you viewers saying how our show has really helped you get through the quarantine. And I'm so happy to hear this, because I can honestly say we've accomplished exactly what we set out to do. As much as we may have helped you get through the monotony of the quarantine, you've done the same for us. Knowing that we had a weekly show to produce has kind of pushed all of us to always be on, and that's helped me out through some of the tougher times. So thank you for tuning in week after week and sharing your life with us. Raquel, Eloise, you may have something to add here.
Just big thank you again for this year of Mineral Talks Live to be with us. I know that a lot of people came week after week after week after week, and 50 shows later, you're still here. So thanks for being with us. Some people were more interested in researchers, museum curators, or dealers, but we all share the same passion for minerals, gemstones, and all that nature can give. So thanks for being with us. I hope to see you soon at a show, in a museum, or wherever. But it has been great. Thank you for keeping us safe, as we were saying at the beginning. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
You know, it seems like we are saying bye as a Mineral Talks Live too, but it's not. It's just a celebration. And since you both covered that, I want to say I love working with these amazing professionals that you both are. Brian and Eloise, it has been a tremendous joy to get to know all our speakers and audience, thanks to you, and put it on all those really bad days and the good ones. Thanks for being so professional working in this industry. So toast to that.
Well, everyone appreciates it,
Yeah, we
believe me,
certainly
all
do,
around
yeah,
the world.
for
This
sure.
is probably one of the best things that could ever happen during this chaotic time.
Thank you, Donna. That means so much for us. So, in closing, we're so grateful that many of us we're cautiously exiting the pandemic, and we're not out of the woods yet. But there's finally a light at the end of the tunnel. The infection rates continue to drop, vaccinations continue to rise, and little by little, people are starting to return to a more normal life. And because of this, we've decided to make the decision to switch Mineral Talks Live from a weekly show to a monthly show. And we thought that there's no better time to do it now after our 50th show and our 1-year anniversary. So our next show will be in July. Keep your eyes peeled for our announcements via email, Facebook, and Instagram. And we'll let you know who our special guest will be when Mineral Talks returns in July. Enjoy the rest of the month. Be safe, and we'll see you soon. Aloha.
Aloha, Brian.